All right, so now that we've converted our list notes route over to protect users' data from unwanted reading, the next thing that we're going to do is take a look at another route and protect that as well. So just going in order of simplicity here, or in order of complexity rather, the next one that we're going to take a look at here is the delete note route. This one is actually going to be pretty straightforward to do because all we're going to have to do before deleting that note is check and make sure that the user owns it. Okay? So in this one, just like in our list notes route, the first thing that we're going to do is check to make sure that the auth token that the user included is valid. So let's import the admin package. We're going to say import all as admin from Firebase admin. And then down here inside our handler, we're going to create a try catch block. We're going to put all of our stuff inside that try block, of course. And the first thing we're going to do is say const auth token equals request.headers. And once we have that auth token, we're going to say const user, and actually let's call that auth user, just like we did in our list notes route. And for this, we're going to say equals await admin.auth.verify ID token, and we're going to pass that auth token to this as an argument. Okay, so again, the same thing that we did before is going to happen here. If an error occurred, we're going to just say catch error, and we'll say response.send status and send the 401 status back to the user. And that should be all we need to do. So next thing, as I said, is we're going to need to make sure that the user is actually the owner of the note that they're trying to delete. And for that, it's actually a little bit different than what we saw in the list notes route, because unlike in the list notes route, we don't just have this user ID URL parameter up in the path that we can refer to. So what we have to do instead is wait for ourselves to actually read the note from the database, okay? So we're saying find one and delete here. That's actually no longer what we want to do, okay? What we want to do first is actually find the note that we're referring to and take a look at its created by property to see what user actually created it, and it should be equal to this auth user's ID. If it's not, that's when we're going to return a 403 status code and basically tell the user to go take a hike because they're trying to delete another user's data. So what we're going to do for this, we're going to change this find one and delete to just find one. Okay, and this is going to become the note here. And once we have the note, we're going to want to say if the note's created by property does not equal the auth user's ID, okay, so auth user.uid, in that case, we're going to say return response.send status, and we're going to send a 403 status there, signifying that they're not authorized to do what they're trying to do. All right, so now that we've verified that the user is in fact the owner of this note, now we can delete it. And the way that we can do that is, well, first of all, we can delete this deleted note thing because we already have the note. Okay, so instead of saying deleted note.id here, we're just going to say note.id. And then we're going to say await notesdb.delete1. And we're going to delete the note with the ID equal to note ID only if this thing passed. And as I look at this, I'm actually wondering if we open up our list notes route. Ah, yes, I forgot to say return before this. Now, in the case of our list notes route, not having this return keyword before we said response.send status wasn't particularly bad because we're not actually doing anything. However, inside this delete note route, that could have been a little bit catastrophic, just a little bit, because if we don't put the return keyword, basically our handler function will continue executing. So it will end up deleting this note and deleting the note ID from the user, even though we already sent back a status code to the user saying, nope, you can't do that, right? So in order to avoid that, and oops, I realized I made a typo here. Nope, there we go, delete one. So anyway, in order to prevent that, we just need to make sure that we put this return keyword. It's just something that we have to remember to do. So anyway, now that we've done that, we should be able to delete notes correctly. So let's go back over to our application here and try out deleting notes and see if it works. So we're going to click on this delete button here. We're going to click on yes, and it looks like something went wrong. So let's open up our inspector window here. and we see that it says it failed with a status code of 401. Now that doesn't necessarily mean anything currently besides that some sort of error happened in our try-catch block. That's one of the downsides of having large try-catch blocks like this is if anything fails inside of here, it'll just catch it here and send it back. So let's take a look at what this error actually is that's occurring so that we can try and troubleshoot it. I'm going to try and, here, I'm just going to refresh this. Oops, it looks like something went completely wrong. We might have to take a look inside the database in order to figure this out. So let's open up our database now. I'm assuming something went wrong here with our usersdb.update one. And that's it. This deleted note.createdBy thing was what tripped it up. So we're going to have to change that to note.createdBy, and we are going to have to actually go into our database and fix this. So let's say use notes app db. We're going to say db.users.find, and we're going to say .pretty so we can take a look at it. And sure enough, our note that we deleted is still in here. So just to see which note is actually the one we deleted, let's say db.notes.find.pretty. And it looks like this one is the one that didn't get deleted. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to copy this. We're going to say db.users.find. We're going to say ID equals, and actually we're going to need to copy this thing first here. We're going to say ID is equal to that. And when we find a matching user for that, we're going to say notes, and we're going to use the $pull property, right? Just like we did in our delete note route handler. And we're going to remove this ID here from the notes property. And to do that, we say notes and paste that thing there. And then let's make sure we close off all of our curly braces and hit enter. Oops, and it looks like I made a typing error. We need to delete this other notes thing here. I'm going to delete that here. There we go. Okay, and that's an error too. Oh, duh. The reason that I did that is that I didn't change this to db.users.update1. All right, so we have matched count 1, modified count 1, and if we open up db.users, here, let's do db.users.findAll, we should see that that has successfully been removed after a little bumbling on my part, but nevertheless, it should be working now, so let's try refreshing our front end, and that should now work. We don't have that same error that we were seeing before, and let's try deleting another note now. We're going to click on this, we're going to say yes, and there we go. It successfully deleted it because we got rid of that deleted note dot something or other that we had here, okay? So that's how we modify our delete note route in order to make sure that users can only delete notes that they own. All right, and just to show you that this would not allow other users to delete this note, let's go back here. We're going to add another note. We're going to say my note. We're going to click on create. And let's just get the ID of this note here. We should be able to get that from the Mongo database by saying db.notes.findAll.pretty. Okay, let's just copy this ID. And now if we go over to Postman and try and say delete the note with this ID, we're going to say delete notes / and then we're going to paste the ID of that note without the double quotes, of course. And we're going to disable this auth token property because that is the auth token of our user. So we'll click on send now, and we'll see that we get a 401 unauthorized from there. And if we re-enable this auth token and click send, we should see that we get back 200 OK instead. Okay, so our delete notes route is now protecting our users' data from other users trying to delete it. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.